everyone. It's 8 p.m. Helsinki time, and you're in the live chat Understanding Russian Christianity. Thank you, everyone who is joining me now or joining me later and seeing the recording of this live. It is to celebrate the 1,000 subscriber mark, and it's 1,020 already. And I'm grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you so very much for your support, for your interest, for your comments, both critical, substantial, and supportive. I appreciate that very much. This helps me a lot. My videos got a bit better with sound, a bit better with substance, a bit better with content, with everything. I try to react to your interest as much as I can. Obviously, I still have my own biases, interests, and everything. Nevertheless, I'm very thankful for all your views, support, comments, and especially for the critical ones, because they help me grow. It is a good present from you, 1,000 mark, and it's also a good present for my birthday, which is today. Today I'm 40 years old, and I've celebrated with my family today, and now I have some time for a brief chat on the channel, because I cannot ignore this milestone, which is very important, and it is very, it supports the purpose of this channel. So, as I promised, I'll talk a little bit about myself, about the ideas behind this channel, why I started it, what I intend to do, my biases, and so on and so forth. So my name is Igor. I am a researcher at the University of Helsinki in Finland. I study and I teach Russian Christianity. I obviously have my narrow specific topic, which I'm working on, which I publish on mostly and present at conferences around the world about. So my narrow topic is evangelical Christianity, which means the groups of Protestants that are known for born-again individual conversion and literal reading of the Bible. So these groups I've been studying for over a decade. I started off with Russian Baptists and other interesting groups, but now I'm focused on Jehovah's Witnesses, and let's see where it leads me further. So I am very much interested on the way they live the text of the Bible in their everyday lives. I'm very much interested in how they interpret the Bible and how they see the world through the lens of the Bible. For instance, I've recently published an article about the way Russian Baptists made sense of COVID pandemic, of the state-imposed restrictions, of the virus itself, because obviously they got sick with coronavirus and some of them died. So all these things through the biblical lens, whether it is the sign of the end of the world, whether it is something apocalyptical, and how do they make sense of it, and these things, and so on and so forth. Or before that, I published an article on gender, family, and sexuality in the same Russian Baptist community, how they see it through the biblical lens, and what are the gender roles, how they understand them, and how they live their everyday lives based on these roles. So this is my narrow specialization. This is what I work on as a researcher, but as a YouTuber, as a blogger to a certain extent, a video blogger, as a media personality, I obviously embrace a much wider topic. I also teach on a much wider topic, on Russian Christianity, which means Russian-speaking Christianity, or Christianity, any Christianity within Russia, geographically, culturally, ideologically, historically. So my course I teach at the University of Helsinki is called Russian Christianity, History, Ideology, Culture. So it's quite a wide one, and it's interdisciplinary one. It's an introductory one, not a very deep one, obviously, because every lecture topic is such a huge and deep theme that you can write like a dozen of books or 100 of books on each and every topic. And this is how researchers work. They have their narrow specialization, they have their more general specialization on which they have certain expertise to teach, to talk about publicly. And as a YouTuber, I obviously combine several roles. First, I'm a university researcher, obviously an expert, a professional, but also as a YouTuber, as a blogger, I take the liberty to use much of my own opinions. So, obviously, I'm not a political scientist, I'm a researcher of religion. So when I talk about political subjects, I can have some limited, although probably expert understanding of some certain areas, but not generally. I'm not a researcher of politics, not a geopoliticist, and not even a sociologist. So obviously, as a YouTuber, I combine these things. So you have some certain pieces that are based on my own research, certain pieces that are based on research of my colleagues, certain pieces that are just opinions of mine. And I try to make it clear. Obviously, this is probably the things that I got most criticized for, because my opinions are quite strong and maybe even to an extent emotional, because I'm deeply personally involved. I left Russia even before the coronavirus with my family, but at the same time I am emotionally involved. I have my extended family in Russia, in different areas of Russia, and I cannot just stay calm and collected and totally neutral and totally objective when it comes to something I'm not a professional researcher of, but also I'm personally involved in. So you have to make clear when I talk about certain about Christianity, especially the social science of Christianity, let's say, because by training I'm a sociologist and anthropologist, but I don't work as a sociologist for a long time. Let's say I'm a social and cultural anthropologist, a scholar of religion, and maybe to a certain extent theologian. So when I talk about theology of evangelical Christianity, when I talk about anthropology or like ethnographic study of certain groups of evangelical Christianity, I'm talking like an expert, although obviously in short, brief videos, I simplify it to a certain extent. And I try to talk about more general topics that are interest to a wide public. But when I talk about politics, which are inevitably linked with all these religious topics, I take the liberty to use much of my own opinions. And obviously, it's quite clear what I think of the situation, what I think of the war in Ukraine, what I think of this state, let's say, of the leadership of the Orthodox Church, which saddens me because although I'm not an Orthodox Christian myself, I have many great friends, and even if I didn't have them, I still know many genuine, absolutely sincere, devoted Orthodox believers who are saddened by the situation, who are facing a moral dilemma. They have to choose between the leadership of the Mother Church, which they literally take as the Mother Church, and the truth. So I'm not saying I know where the truth is, but for those people who disagree with the leadership of the Church, which is, to my, again, opinion, chooses patriotism, let's take it in quotation marks, before their worship of God. So these people are faced with this dilemma, and it's a hard choice. It's a hard choice. It's like you're choosing between your mother and your father. I wouldn't wish to anyone to be put in this situation. And when it comes to the events in Ukraine and the interpretation of events in Ukraine, I'm also partially, it is my opinion, but it's based on something. It's not just like how I feel or how I interpret the situation looking to the news online. I also have friends and colleagues who study the situation in Ukraine, especially when it comes to religion, who go there physically. Maybe even right now, I'm not sure. I have one good friend and a talented researcher who goes there to conduct field work to Ukraine physically several times since the war started. And she have seen the situation with her own eyes. She talked to the people. So I rely on her expertise to a huge extent, and many other people as well. I talk to my friends in Ukraine. I personally know people who were hiding in the basement of the buildings in the days of heavy shelling in different cities of Ukraine. So again, it's a personal opinion because I'm not a political scientist, so I cannot talk as an expert about NATO and US interest and Russian interest and the Ukrainian role in all that and all the political figures and all the political interests. But still, based on the research of my colleagues, I can form a generally based opinion on what's going on, especially in the sphere of religion. So again, when there is war, everybody loses. Ukraine loses, Russia loses, we in Finland lose, and many other countries around the world. Maybe those who produce the firearms, maybe they win. Maybe some other forces win, but most of the people, institutions, governments, countries, groups of people, they all lose. So it's a terrible atrocity, and I would love it to never start, but at this point we just can wish that it ends as soon as possible and people stop dying. So this is the explanation of my position. So again, I'm a university researcher, so I'm an expert in a certain field, which I most likely will manifest in my publications, my professional publications, in my professional presentations, in conferences and seminars of certain kinds. But as a YouTuber, it's much wider. I obviously talk a lot about what I'm an expert on, but I also take a wider approach. I talk about the general area of my expertise, and I involve some of my personal opinion, and I will do my very best to make it clear where it is my opinion, what's it based on, and where it is my expertise, and what pieces of research it is based on. And I thank you all again for your support, for your subscriptions, and if you're not subscribed yet, please do it. It costs you nothing, and it means the world to me. I thank you all very much, and I wish you a great Sunday or the rest of Sunday, depending on your time zone, a great week, and see you again on my channel. Thank you, everyone.